Coming up today, the curtain comes down on the 2016 Olympics in Rio. South Korea finishes 8th in the medal standings with 9 golds. President Park Geun-hye presides over a National Security Council session to check South Korea's defense readiness posture as Seoul and Washington start their annual Ulchi Freedom Guardian exercise. Plus, more than 50 are dead after the Islamic State group bombs a wedding in Turkey. The suicide attacker was reportedly a young boy. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Monday, the 22nd of August. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. We are going to start today at the nation's top office. President Park Geun-hye convened the Ulchi National Security Council this morning, followed by an Ulchi cabinet meeting, marking the start of the 4-day Ulchi Freedom Guardian exercise. The president urged unity against North Korea's continued provocations, which he emphasized is what led Seoul and Washington to deploy the THAAD missile defense system to South Korea.
북한의 핵과 미사일로부터 우리 국가와 국민을 지키기 위한 것인데도 적반하장으로 왜곡하면서 추가 도발의 빌미로 삼으려 하고 있습니다.
President Park added that North Korea will try to provoke conflict within the South as Pyongyang is experiencing its own internal struggle, as illustrated by the defections of high-ranking officials. The latest high-profile defection was by the North's one of the North's ambassadors to the UK, Tae Yong-ho. The president called for full defence readiness as the drills get underway. So South Korea and the United States have begun their annual Ulchi Freedom Guardian exercise in the shadow of these threats from North Korea. This time the North is threatening a preemptive nuclear strike if it detects any aggression during these drills. Kim Hyun-bin with the details.
Seoul and Washington kicked off their annual combined Ulchi Freedom Guardian military drill. South Korea's defense ministry announced the start of the command post exercise on Monday. The drill is scheduled to run through September 2nd and involves 50,000 South Korean and 25,000 American military personnel. The United Nations Command Military Armistice Commission informed the North Korean People's Army of the exercise through the Joint Security Area at Panmunjom and emphasized that the drills are defensive in nature. The statement was in part a response to a threat by North Korea earlier the same day, saying it would launch a preemptive nuclear strike on Seoul and Washington if the allies show even the slightest sign of aggression against North Korea during the drills. The warning came in a statement by the North Korean People's Army and released through the state-run Korean Central News Agency. That statement said North Korea is ready to mount a preemptive retaliatory strike on everyone involved in the Ulchi exercise. It also cautioned that the situation on the Korean peninsula is so tense that a nuclear war may break out any moment. This year's exercise comes amid heightened tensions between the two Koreas following the defection of a senior North Korean diplomat last month. The South Korean military is on high alert for any unusual activity and says it is ready to counter any provocations from the north. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, a committee of residents opposed to the planned deployment of the THAAD missile defense system in Seongju County is set to submit their official request for an alternate location for the battery. A spokesman for the group confirmed on Monday that the appeal will be made to the Ministry of Defense based on the consensus reached Sunday on a different location. The committee had planned to submit the proposal on Sunday, but disagreements delayed the process. The Defense Ministry has said that it will give its response after receiving an official request from the county. According to Yonhap News Agency, the new location, though not yet confirmed, is likely to be Lotte Sky Hill Country Club, which is some 18 kilometers north of the Seongju County office and far from populated areas. The National Assembly is in deadlock over the government's multi-billion-dollar supplementary budget plan that was slated to be put up for a vote today. The ruling Seongju Party urged the opposition parties to abide by an earlier agreement and approve the plan, while the opposition criticized the ruling party for being unwilling to compromise on the witness list for an upcoming hearing. The opposition parties said they cannot agree to pass the budget bill unless they first hear from key economic policymakers, including former Finance Minister Che Kyung-hwan, about why they decided to inject $3.8 billion of taxpayer money into the ailing shipping and shipbuilding industries last October. Time now to take a look at the latest from Rio on what was the final day of the 2016 Olympics. After 17 days of fierce competition, the Games are now officially over. Let's get our final Olympic report from our Eun Shin. So, Eun Shin, lots of fans from around the world really enjoyed the action.
Absolutely. From multiple gold medalists, nail-biting matches, and some record-breaking performances, there was just so much to see and enjoy at this year's Rio Olympics. But don't take my word for it. Here's some of the fans had to say about the event.
Unbelievable. The whole team have been fantastic. And from our point of view, it's been an absolute privilege to be part of that journey with the team. It's been fantastic.
The overall game's fantastic. This game was fantastic, but not as good as some of the other ones. But seriously, not as good as Brazil last night in the football match. That was unbelievable!
Winning the most medals by far, the U.S. concluded their stay in Rio in first place in the medal standings. And beating China by 1 gold, Great Britain claimed second. Also, despite the long list of banned athletes due to the doping scandal, Russia, especially excelling in fencing and wrestling, finished 4th. And to celebrate their achievements, proud athletes entered the Maracana Stadium one last time to bid farewell to the Rio Olympics. Featuring the big samba floats the city is known for, as well as performances by Brazilian musicians, Sunday's closing ceremony was a fitting end to a dazzling festival of sport. And although Team Korea's participation on the last day wasn't significant, finishing 8th in the medal standings with 9 gold, 3 silver, and 9 bronze medals, the nation had a sweet moment of closure in Rio. Here's our Hwang Ho-jun with the details.
Sweeping all 4 golds from the men's and women's individual and team events, Korea's most memorable victorious moments were in archery. Sure, with more Olympic archery golds than any other country, Korea has always been known for being the best, but don't think Olympic triumph is ever earned without blood, sweat, and tears.
It was tough. The training, the pressure, just a whole preparation for the Olympics made me think I don't ever want to put myself through this again. But now that I won medals, I may give it a second thought.
And with their golden start, the rest of Team Korea's athletes were encouraged to give their all in the other events. The nation won 5 medals in Taekwondo, including 2 golds from the women's events. And veteran shooter Jin Jong-ho also brought home the gold in the men's 50-meter pistol shooting event, a 3rd consecutive Olympic title for his personal count. Also atop the podium, Korea's Park In-bi showed her calm and skill in women's golf. Although high gold medal hopes from events like badminton and table tennis didn't turn out as planned, Korea was still able to achieve its goal of finishing in the top 10 of the medal rankings. Whether they made the podium or not, each athlete's work has been widely appreciated and respected. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Those are some great achievements by Team Korea indeed. So now let's go back and talk about some of the match results from Sunday. The U.S. won the final game in the men's basketball, beating Serbia 96-66 to steal their 3rd straight golden victory of the event since the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Star player Kevin Durant delivered some of his best moves, scoring 30 points alone, pushing his team way ahead of the Serbians by halftime. And with the American women's basketball team also beating Spain 101-72 on Saturday to claim their 6th gold in the women's event, the country has once again proven its dominance in the sport. And another highly anticipated event on the final day was the marathon, arguably the biggest highlight of the Games. And Kenya has won double gold in both men's and women's events. Kenya's Eliud Kipchoge won the gold in the men's marathon with a time of 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 44 seconds. This marks the 2nd gold in the men's event for Kenya since winning the Beijing Olympics back in 2008. And that follows Jemima Sumgong's golden finish in the women's event on August 14th. So now, that's a wrap from the last day of the 2016 Rio Olympics. I'm Ian Shin. It's been a pleasure.
Now, in the rest of the day's news, amid sluggish growth worldwide, global trade has fallen to levels not seen since 2010. What's worrisome is that the decline marks the second consecutive fall, a trend not even seen during the global financial crisis. Kim Min-ji reports.
Global trade has hit its lowest level in 6 years. According to the World Trade Organization, the total amount of trade of 71 major economies in the first half of this year came to over $14.4 trillion. That's down 5.4% from a year ago. After peaking in the first half of 2014, the figure has fallen for the second straight year, an unprecedented trend not seen even during the height of the global financial crisis. During the first 6 months of the year, roughly 3/4 of the 71 countries saw their exports decline, especially on the back of slowing trade volume in China and a slump in global oil prices. China's exports dipped nearly 8% in the first half of the year, taking a toll on Asian countries. Indonesia saw the biggest decline, followed by Malaysia and Singapore. Korea saw its exports fall 9.9% during the same period. Faltering commodity prices also hit exports of oil exporting nations, with Russia's outbound shipments falling almost 30% and Norway dipping 22.5%. The world's biggest exporter was China, followed by the US, Germany, and Japan. Korea fell a notch to rank 7th. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, the value of the Korean won against the US dollar rose sharply in July, recording the highest appreciation rate out of 27 leading currencies. According to data by the Bank for International Settlements, the real effective exchange rate of the Korean currency stood at 116.93 last month. That's up 2.26% from the previous month. Korea topped the list in terms of appreciation rate, followed by Australia, Japan and New Zealand. Now, the steep rise is attributed to a possible US rate hike in the coming months, the nation's upgraded sovereign credit rating and increased foreign investment funds. The strengthening won is expected to hurt Korea's declining exports further, which have already posted the longest consecutive monthly decline in July. Korean refiners recorded decent profits in the first half of the year on the back of sales and margins exceeding expectations. According to market researcher CEO Score, the country's third largest oil refiner, S-Oil, posted the highest operating income to sales ratio of 14.9%, this among Korea's top 30 conglomerates. The refiner logged an operating income of $1 billion in the first half of the year. That's up 34% from the previous year. Its operating income to sales ratio rose 6 percentage points over the cited period. Korea's top refiner, SK Innovation, came in fourth with 9.4%, followed by GS Caltex with 9.3%. Combined, Korea's top 30 groups suffered a 3.3% on-year decline in first half sales, while posting a 9.7% rise in operating income. Now, Turkey's president has revealed the suicide bomber who attacked a Kurdish wedding party over the weekend was a child. More than 50 people were killed in the blast. Kim Mok-yeon has more.
President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said the attack was likely the work of the Islamic State group, which is known to have several cells in Gaziantep, a city near the Syrian border. A young suicide bomber also killed 2 policemen in Gaziantep in May.
Yesterday, in the Gaziantep Shahin Bey district, during a wedding ceremony, a 12 to 14-year-old suicide bomber exploded or was exploded by someone. In the beginning, there were 94 wounded, but now after discharged patients, there are 69 wounded in hospitals right now. 17 of them are heavily wounded. There are 51 dead.
The pro-Kurdish People's Democratic Party says the wedding party was for one of its members. ISIS has been blamed for similar attacks on Kurdish gatherings in Turkey, which is seen as efforts aimed at inflaming ethnic tensions. International powers have condemned the attack. The U.S. ambassador to Turkey said the attack was barbaric, while Pope Francis led hundreds of people in a silent prayer for the victims. German Chancellor Angela Merkel and Russian President Vladimir Putin also said that they stand on Turkey's side in the fight against terrorism. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon expressed condolences to the families and urged for international counter-terrorism efforts to be intensified. Kim Mo-kyan, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Monday lunchtime here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for tuning in. We'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Our next scheduled bulletin coming up at 3 p.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.